Hey Dad, what's it like to work a retail job? Well, I'll tell you exactly what it's like to work a retail job. You see, in the last episode, I talked about how I was hired at Target, and in this case, we're going to discuss what it was like my first night closing as a guest service team lead for the Target that I was working at. Now, for those not in the know, a guest service team lead is basically the front end manager, right? So you have a lot of different responsibilities that you have to worry about when you're running the front end of the store. Basically, it's a lot of maintaining the cash registers, not just the registers themselves, but your cashiers, making sure that they're on top of things, taking care of the guests properly. There also is the matter of making sure that at the end of the night, once you're closed, that you are making out the nightly deposit. The registers are set and ready for the next day. On top of that, you also have the guest service area, which is the area when you walk into a Target and they have the spot where you can pick up your orders, or maybe you're returning an item. Maybe you have a complaint and you want to talk to the manager. That is also one of the designated areas that the guest service team lead has to deal with. Now, most Targets these days, and in fact, I'm pretty sure almost all of them, have a Starbucks inside the front of the store. Ours did. We had a Starbucks. We also had a fully functional cafe. In that cafe, you could order a pizza, a personal pan pizza. You could get a bag of popcorn or a hot dog, a hot pretzel, beverages, all kinds of things. And that also falls under the jurisdiction of guest service team lead. So I use all of those instances or examples to set up the other thing that you really have to be mindful of and manage as the guest service team lead at the front of the store, a little matter of public restrooms. So you've got the men's room, you've got the women's room, you've got the family bathroom. Those restrooms must be maintained, kept clean, kept stocked. Make sure that if there are any messes, and let's be honest, we've all been in public restrooms before. If there are any messes, that typically is going to fall on the management to clean and make sure that everything is well taken care of. And on this night, this was the first night that I was closing the front end of the store on my own. And as the guest service team lead, you do have to step in and take care of, your employees whenever someone's on their lunch break. Maybe I'd have to step in at the cash register or, over at guest services if I wasn't just up there wandering the front of the store. But you would also have to manage the cafe. So when your cafe person is on their lunch break, you've got about 30 minutes to basically be behind the counter at the cafe, maintaining orders, taking orders, making pizza, making hot dogs, whatever it is. That was part of my job as a guest service team lead. So as it might have been maybe 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, and Aaron, our store manager, who I had mentioned in a previous episode, Aaron was leaving for the night, and I was behind the counter at the cafe, managing the cafe while our person was on lunch break. And Erin happened to walk by and she said, "Brandon, have a great night. You've got this. Everything's going to be fine. Good luck. I will see you tomorrow." I said, "Erin, thank you again for the opportunity. Have a great night." And I turned around to, take care of a pizza that was coming out of the oven as she walked away. Now, I had assumed that she was walking out the door. Little did I know that she had made a pit stop at the restroom before she was going to leave. Now, as I turned back around just a few moments later, here comes Erin walking back over towards me. Now she has this weird look on her face as she approaches me at the countertop, and she said, "Brandon, I really hate to do this to you on your first night closing, but I'm going to have to ask you to clean the middle stall in the women's restroom." And my heart sank. I didn't know what to think. What was I going to walk into? So I asked her, "Erin, what am I walking into here? I need to know, is this code brown? Is this code red? Is it vomit? What am I preparing myself for that I have to clean up, because I want to get my game face on?" And she kind of stammered a little bit. And at this point, I came around the counter and I walked back out. And as I did, she had her phone in her hand and she pulled up her pictures in her phone and she shows me a picture. And I looked at it for a second and I thought, what the hell is that? Is that a rodent? Is that a dead animal? Do we have a dead animal in the stall that I have to dispose of, that I have to clean up? And as I'm looking at the picture, she could not contain herself any further. She was trying to hold it back, but with fighting back tears of laughter in her eyes, she just blurted out, Brandon, it's pubes! It's pubes, Brandon! It's pubes! And sure enough, that was a pile of women's pubic hair lying on the floor like it had just been shed from an animal's carcass. And I didn't know how to react. And, on one hand, I was kind of grossed out. On the other hand, I'm thinking, well, yeah, everyone's got pubes. It's natural. Nothing to worry about here. But I kept thinking to myself, what in the hell? How did they get, how did they get there? And I surmised that perhaps it was a young lady who was getting ready for a hot date at the movie theater behind the Target, went in there and did a little lawn maintenance before she went on her date, or was it somebody who had gone and stolen one of our razor blades from the shelf and gone and taken care of her nether regions in the public women's restroom, and I guess sometimes you just have to do what's part of the job. And in this case, this was part of the job. I will say this, however, it was the easiest cleanup I've ever had to worry about. I mean, in the 2 years that I was there, I dealt with all of the matters, the fecal matters, the period blood, the vomit, everything in every possible way that you would have to deal with in a public restroom. Pubes was nothing. That was easy. I just had to walk in and just basically gone, gone, just like that. Pubes dispersed, back to business, no problem at all. So again, sometimes you just have to do what's part of the job. And in this case, that night, my first night closing, cleaning up pubes was part of the job. And I've got a little treat for you. Stay tuned for a post-credit scene. It was recently brought to my attention that there is this TikTok trend that's been going around, where you are prompted to say the phrase, you shaved your bush, and you do so by using specific emotional prompts or acting prompts, whatever you want to call them. So, given that we just went over the story on how I had to clean up what I thought was a dead animal in a women's bathroom, I bring to you, you shaved your bush. Shocked. You shaved your bush? Disappointed. You shaved your bush? Flirty. You shaved your bush. Adorable. Aw, you shaved your bush? Announcer. Caller number 5, you're on the line. You shaved your bush. So if you like that story, and I've got plenty more where that came from, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel Storytime for the Apocalypse. I've been Brandon. Until next time.